Detachment and letting go is not really an action. It is kind of the antithesis of action. It's more of a release. It is about that moment where you surrender. And to truly surrender, it's not something that you force yourself to do, because again, that's another action. It's releasing that weight, that whatever that you've been carrying. And sometimes that's harder than performing a specific action. And actions can be also difficult to perform because the initiation energy that it takes to get from zero to start. And yet, in my experience and through observing and talking with others, it's the release and the surrender that's much more challenging than all the effort that it takes to start something. The biggest thing to release is constant pressure and monitoring from inside of yourself. Like, we may not even realize how we are putting deadlines and parameters and expectations and all of these things layered and layered and layered on top of whatever that is going on. And in order to be able to really be present in the moment, to feel and to experience things in real time, to observe, to listen, to absorb your surroundings, to be open, to be receptive, that takes space. And in order to create space, there's a lot that needs to be shed and released. And so this process feels really difficult because it kind of goes against a lot of the way that society functions and that we've been conditioned to be useful, productive, to do and chase and strive and push and all of these hyper masculine type of energies because society kind of rewards that side of the spectrum, the feminine, the unknown, the shadow, the void. These things make people uncomfortable. To take time to sit in silence, sit in boredom, sit in the mud if you're going and growing through something. That it's kind of counterintuitive that it takes more effort to technically do less, but it's all this programming and mental stimulation, distraction that hinders our ability to be still and to really connect with ourselves and therefore with others, with the environment, it's looked at as being unproductive, doing nothing. There's not a per se tangible benefit to surrender. And so it's not something, especially in the Western world, that is valued or really demonstrated very often. And I notice as I go through day to day interactions in a more slow and steady manner, creating this bubble almost of space around me, getting more comfortable with taking up more space, getting more comfortable with moving at a slower pace despite people around being uncomfortable or wanting to rush me or wanting to have things in a certain way from this illusion of control that a lot of us have. And it's just a really interesting way to navigate through. And it makes me feel like kind of like a ninja sometimes, or like I'm weaving and dancing through this chaotic environment. And it just it's it's just interesting the way that we think of balance. It's kind of more equated to steadiness, but balance is really about movement. Balance is that moment where the scales are tipping in one direction and then the other, and it's kind of going back and forth, and then eventually it reaches an equilibrium. And things in nature, when there is a balance and a flow, there's not this rigidity. And a lot of what's going on around us is chaotic, rigid, extremely structured in a way that is aligned with an old paradigm that simply cannot sustain, because you need both. You need that balance. You need the masculine and the feminine energy. You need the dark and the light. You need contrast and nuance, and to be able to adapt and change and grow, can't be stuck in a certain mindset or a way of doing things. And a lot of us are, a lot of us have these conditions and programs. And when we start out from as a child, we are so free, so open, so receptive. It's just our natural state of being. And then come the layers of the programming and whatever else kind of weighs us down. And so there is a moment where this process is a doing and then in turn an undoing. And it does require some effort in a sense. But really, to remove pressure is to stop this obsessive need to constantly be on and productive and to always be doing and striving for something. So I don't know if any of that made sense, but it's just kind of what came through at this moment. it's just been an interesting journey for me, unpacking and shedding and going through these processes, and realizing that the pushing and the striving and the that aspect of it is what I historically have been comfortable with, but it's really that resting and pausing and sitting and just being, that shit is hard. But I've been doing it. Well, I've been being it. And it's just such a significant shift of how I feel, how I appear, how I interact with the world. And I'm noticing, I don't know where I heard this quote, but how you look at the world is how the world looks at you. And essentially, your outside reflects your inner world to a degree. There's things that are obviously outside of our control. There's so much chaos and destruction and things that you know, are aside from our manifestations, if you will. But really, the way we respond and react to our environment plays such a significant role in everything, really. And it was like a switch where the old way, um, especially a lot of last year, but most of my life, was definitely operating from this more survival mode and hustle kind of energy, hyper masculine. And to feel that shift into a more balanced, with the feminine energy way of being has been such a crazy, like, it's a palpable change for me. And noticing others on that same wave, and just, yeah, the way that the world is feels more open and playful and joyful despite everything that's going on, you know, to have that little oasis of joy and peace within whatever external things are going on. And not necessarily that it's like happy, happy all the time, but to have that pendulum, or that the scale reaching this equilibrium state where coming back to self, coming back to the breath, coming back to center, coming back to peace. It's it's more so a release into those things rather than a push forward, which is the old way that I used to operate, and the way that we're kind of conditioned to go about things. And it's just a beautiful thing to just take yourself out of the pressure cooker, at least internally. We cannot really control anything outside of that, but to, on top of whatever's going on, to also add pressure and criticism and overthinking and ruminating and all these layers and layers and layers of complications. when really life could be so simple if you just let it be and let yourself be. And you may feel bored at times, you may feel like something's missing, and you may feel a little confused when you're in that void, when you're on that bridge between what no longer serves you and what you are moving toward, that weird almost purgatory of, okay, I can't really see the full picture ahead. It's a little foggy, but I know I don't want to go back to the fire. So you have to keep going step at a time, step at a time, step at a time. And eventually the fog clears and you have clarity and more of a vision of the big picture, and just realizing that everything you've ever done, every path you've ever taken, all roads lead you back to you. And it's always been the case. And it's not so much a it's a bit of an excavation, but it's more so a remembering of what was at the beginning in its purest form, that childlike wonder, that curiosity, all those things that we came as the default setting and have been led astray from. And it's really nice to know that I'm not the only crazy one that feels like life could be so simple. You just let it be simple. you know, we are co creating our experience. And so it's like we're molding the clay as we go. And as we're shaping it, our thoughts, our beliefs, and habits, and all these things are playing a part into what gets sculpted. And it can be scary to realize that, oh shit, I I do play a significant impact on what's happening in my life. It takes a lot of looking in the mirror, taking accountability, and facing shadow, integrating shadow and the light. But what's on the other side is so beautiful. It's play, it's joy, it's curiosity, it's a lust for life itself, you know. Every day is this beautiful experience full of endless possibilities. And I don't like saying life is short. I like saying life is precious, because it is. And you're precious, and your path is precious, your journey is precious. You have the power to create heaven or hell on earth, and it's really up to you. And I don't want to live in hell anymore. So it's been a long, hard, winding road. And I finally feel that weight truly lifted, and feeling that true integration of what it means to surrender and really just be, not some caricature or persona, but the true essence. You don't always get it perfect. We're human, we make mistakes, we fumble, but just seeking to take every step with that integrity and intention, showing up as authentically as possible, leading with love and an open heart and inner sense of safety, security, building a sanctuary within yourself. And then from that baseline, allowing things to come in and put the cherry on top, basically, through connections, through relationships, through community. That's it. I feel like nothing I said was that simple. It was like the inner ramblings of a madman, but the the moral of that tangent, that rabbit hole is life is simple, life is precious, and so are you. Well, not simple. You're simple. No, life is simple, life is precious, you're precious, and it's not too late to wake up and choose to walk or take a step in the direction that you truly desire. Anyway, I think I'm done. I just, as always, turn the camera on, see what happens. And that's what happened. I'll see you in the next one.